Welcome everyone to RPG podcast number 7. This is Haven, and today we have Ai-Phuong as usual, my
Hello.
partner in crime. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Haven? It's been a long time since I've talked to you about games, I think. Or talked with you about
That's
games.
right. So what is
Yeah.
absorbing you in your world?
I'll get to what's been taking up a lot of my life in a minute because I have a lot to talk about that.
Ooh.
And but I've recently gotten a game that I've been waiting for like 5 ever to come over out here in Australia. So it's Fire Emblem Awakening.
The 3DS one.
Yes, the 3DS one. So I don't even like if you've been following these podcasts that I'm in Game Olio and in RPG, you guys would know that I'm a avid Fire Emblem fan. Like I freaking love that series. I freak out playing this game. I played Fire Emblem Awakening for I think 10 hours straight when I first got it. So I got it, I went home and I started playing it right away.
So that's what we call a huge fan. So how was it? Did it live up to your expectation?
Yeah, it's actually really amazing. So the last one that I played was Radiant Dawn, I think, on the Wii. That was the sequel to Path of Radiance.
Yeah.
So that was with Ike in that. No, Ike? I think it was Ike. And his band of mercenaries or whatever.
I think the Ike one is the one on GameCube, and the one on Wii is one of your playable characters. The thief in the GameCube one, after he grown up, that part of his story.
Oh yeah, it's Soth or whatever.
Soth.
I think
Soth.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or however you pronounce his name because it's really weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those two were kind of tied together. I really liked Path of Radiance, and I liked the difficulty in Radiant Dawn, but the story and how the I guess the characters interacted with each other, I don't like. So in Fire Emblem, there's a mechanic called like support conversations. So if you stand your units next to each other on the field for a certain amount of time, usually it unlocks some conversations between them that will develop their characters, you know?
Yeah.
And I really love Fire Emblem because all the units have their own personalities and their own little quirks, and they're designed like amazingly. I just think they're absolutely amazing. And I don't know, Path of Radiance didn't have that. So the people that so like within the cutscenes and stuff, people maybe had 1 or 2 lines, but then in the support conversations, they were all like stock phrases that they said to each other. So in Radiant Dawn, I don't know what they were trying to do, but I wasn't into it. And so the gameplay was great, but I felt that the story was kind of lacking.
Yeah. As compared to Path of Radiance.
Yeah, Path of Radiance was awesome. It still had the support conversations that were unique to each pairing of character that had support conversations with each other. So in Fire Emblem Awakening, I'm super happy that they've brought that back. So they all have certain units. Certain units can interact with other units, and then they all have their own unique conversations between them that go from, I think it's C rank to S rank conversations. So there's like four or 3, depending on what it is. And
their affinity, right?
Sorry?
Depending on their affinity with each other, right?
Yeah, depending on their affinity with each other. So also in Fire Emblem Awakening, you get to make your own character.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so if you've played the one that has, I think it's Eliwood and Lindis and Hector, I think it's number 7 in the Japanese version, but it was the first one to be translated to English, or the first one that had an official translation to English, that one. I think it's Sealed Sword or something. That might be the title. You played the character of the tactician, but you never got to see how you looked, and you never really got to interact with the other characters. Like you never had an avatar on the battlefield. In Awakening, you actually get your own character that can fight. So you actually are a unit in the game, and you can interact with other characters and have your own support conversations with them. So it's super fun. Like I guess it adds like another layer of depth and another way for you to really get into this game. You can also marry someone, anyone of the opposite sex in your team.
Really?
Yes. So by chapter 7, which is pretty early on in the game, I had already married off my tactician to Crom, the main character, because he's so adorable. Please don't judge me for that. But it's really cool though. So I thought once you reach S rank
Mm-hmm.
um support conversation with them,
Mm,
they just say, "Oh, let's just go get married or whatever."
mm.
But you get like a full confession screen and stuff. So they
Oh.
confess that they like you, and then there's a little CG thing, a la like most visual novels, where they kind of look like they're looking at you through the screen,
Mhm.
and there's like pink backgrounds and sparkles and stuff. It was really anime-ish, but it was a nice touch. I really liked it. So
Uh-huh.
I was like, oh, that's really sweet. And then if you look at the character's status screen, it
Mm.
says wife or husband is your character, depending on, you know,
Oh, okay.
married, a female or male. And then on your screen it says your husband or wife is that character. So I thought that was really sweet. But support conversations play a really big part in
Mm.
Fire Emblem Awakening, I suppose, in that they really encourage you to try and pair characters up because they'll give you bonuses during fights.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you um stand next to someone who you have like an A support conversation with,
Mm-hmm.
you will probably give them like +10 to hit, +10 to avoid, and +10 to resistance or something.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll be able to take hits and hit harder, which is really good. So it's not wise for you to stand characters alone to face other like enemy units by themselves, which you really shouldn't do in this game anyway, because
Mm-hmm.
the enemy will just jump on top of you if you have
Yeah.
a isolated unit. But
Yeah.
um,
They're very
it just
smart, the
seems.
AIs.
Sorry?
The AIs in those games are very smart. They just go straight towards the weakest characters.
Yeah, pretty much. So I have this thing in Fire Emblem where because well actually no, they've made it a little bit easier for you. There's a super easy mode where you can like if your units die, they're not lost forever. They just retreat
Oh,
for
really?
yeah. So that's the super easy mode. But I'm playing normal mode, which is if your characters die, they're gone forever.
Yeah.
So that's how I've played the other Fire Emblem games, and I will restart a
Yeah.
map every time someone dies. And even if it's like not a character that I like or even use, I can't lose them.
Yeah.
I get this huge attachment to these characters, and I'm like, you came into my army. I'm your tactician. I can't let you die. I'll just restart the level if you die, and I'll play it again and again. So sometimes I get really frustrated, and I play maps like 10 times over, so everyone is alive by the end of it. But you get such a feeling of accomplishment when you do
Yeah.
that, especially if you're playing it on a hard mode. So um,
Yeah. That was the same for me when I was playing the GameCube Fire Emblem too.
yeah, it's so good though. Like, I don't know, I really like you really have to think about stuff in Fire Emblem, especially if you're playing the harder levels, because the
Mhm.
AI is super smart and um there's like I guess weapon weaknesses and
Yeah.
strengths as well. So I think it's axes good against lances, lances are good against
Nexus. Yeah.
swords, swords are good against
Access.
yeah, axes. And then I think in magic it's like light is good against dark, dark is good against nature, nature's good against light, or something like that. And so your enemies, the AI, will just jump on top of that. If and also your flyers
Yeah. It's weak against bows.
against bows, they will one shot you. And sometimes if you don't look at the map before you start and you make one bad placement, one unit is gone straight away.
Yeah.
It'll frustrate you if you play it like I do, and if you lose a unit, you have to restart. It's like you can't make one mistake.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's this game is if you've never played a Fire Emblem game before, I highly encourage you to play Fire Emblem Awakening because it just gives you the ability to play and not lose any units. So even if you make mistakes in the easier mode, it doesn't really matter too much. But once you get a handle of it, you play the other modes where you do lose someone straight away
Mm-hmm.
and you lose them forever, and it's good. So this is a really good game for starters and to introduce people to this game franchise. So Yeah. The
So
story so
do,
far is kind of average.
so
So,
do they actually have a system in this game that is under certain, if you fulfill certain condition, then certain character will join you? Because I think is it in the GameCube one or which one there were characters that if you don't, only if you have certain characters still in your party, then or still alive in your party, that another certain character will join you, or if you need to win a certain battle that
um,
is not a main quest, then actually certain character will join you, I think.
yeah, I'm not actually sure yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, in terms of getting characters, it kind of feels like they've made it a little bit easier. There's only one character so far which I've gotten through, no, two actually, that I've gotten through side stories, but it was pretty much just like clear the level and then you get them at the end. And as long as they don't die as well, they're like an
Okay.
ally unit.
Yeah.
But some other characters, so the way you recruit extra characters in Fire Emblem is usually if they're on the map, they're an enemy, and then you get your leader character or another specific character um in your team to go
Mm-hmm.
talk to them, and then they join.
Yeah.
I've only had to do that for like a couple units.
Okay.
Other new units just show up and say, "I'm going to help you now." So they've actually made that a lot easier. Maybe people were complaining about like missing out on characters and stuff,
Oh,
but
okay.
I don't really know. I kind of miss
Mm-hmm.
trying to find secret characters and stuff. I might not be far enough in the game to get it though, but I'm pretty sure I'm past the halfway mark and I haven't had to like I
Mm-hmm.
haven't missed out on anyone yet. Um, you do get characters through Spot Pass though
Yeah.
in this, so um, and also DLC. So I think they have free DLC as
Oh.
well for this one, but there are some characters that you can't get. I I have had like when I first got my 3DS, I bought $30 worth of credit. I
Mm-hmm.
still haven't used all of it yet. So I used the credit to I think it was like $4 or $5 to buy, I think, I don't know, all the DLC that hasn't come out yet,
Mm-hmm.
or a few of the DLC packs that haven't come out yet. So I've got Lindis in my team now, who was from the seventh Fire Emblem or the first one that got translated to English. So, but she's a really high level, like, um, okay, so in Fire Emblem, you know how you have your base class and then you can turn it into elite class,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
level it
they
up.
after they pass a certain point, they evolve into a different, like a better class of the same class.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm pretty sure all your DLC characters are already like the highest level they can be and of a high class already, like of the elite class.
Do they still
So
cap the levels in this game?
pretty sure they do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so base class cap is level 20, and then they took out the thing where in I think it was in Path of Radiance and in Radiant Dawn, if you were level 20 and then you got one more level, it automatically turned you into an elite class. In this one, your experience caps at 20 and you have to use a master seal to turn them into their elite class.
Oh,
You can't
okay.
just cheat and get them experience. I tried, it doesn't work.
Oh.
So, that's not too bad though, because you can buy master seals, they just cost a little bit.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
So can you craft weapons in this one? Because
Yes,
what I
you
like
can.
about the GameCube one is you can craft your own weapons.
Yes, you can definitely craft your own weapons for this one. I actually haven't tried it yet because I usually like to do it at the later levels,
Mm-hmm.
but I found it pretty easy to make it through without having to craft your own weaponry
Mm-hmm.
so far. Although I think I'll get some new weapons that have high critical chance for a couple of my units.
Mm-hmm.
Because I like that critical.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, all the classes that have high critical chance, I always use those classes, like the assassin and the
Yeah.
sniper, um, and then I give them all like killer bows, the stuff that have really high critical chance. So every single time they one shot everything. That's my brutal
Yeah,
tactics.
that's what I
I
like
like
too.
to
Usually
employ.
I boost the critical rate.
Mm, yeah, it's just so much easier and it's cheaper as well because then you don't use your weapon like you don't
Yeah,
waste
because
durability.
they break after certain
Yeah.
uses.
So all your weapons that you use in this game, they have durability. Usually it's about like 35 for like an average weapon, and then if it's a special weapon or something with special properties, it's about like 15 or something, 15 uses before it's gone. And if your characters are fast enough, they can attack twice in a turn.
Yeah.
So that durability ends up running out really fast.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, so Fire Emblem Awakening so far is like really good. I'm
How's the
very happy
graphics
with it.
like?
The
The
graphics
graphics.
are average.
Hmm.
Um,
Is this 3D graphics in game?
yeah, I don't actually use the 3D functionality on my 3DS, which
Hmm.
sounds stupid, but I don't use it because it gives me a headache if I stare at
Yeah.
it for too long. But I don't feel like anything in Fire Emblem so far, except maybe the cutscenes that are full like CGI,
Hmm.
would be worth using like the 3D functionality of, you know what I mean? Like to have a
Uh,
look at it. The units all have like a 3D like little avatar kind of
hmm.
thing on the map, and the special effects are cool during the battle, but
Mm.
it's I don't know, it's not super amazing or anything. This is the 3DS we're talking about. So the style is okay.
Mm.
All the drawings are really nice. All the like the drawings of people's portraits and stuff are
Yeah.
really cool, like they usually are in Fire Emblem games, but the actual 3D is It's only a little bit better than say Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn.
Okay.
And
Mm.
and the art style's weird. Like they all have um I guess semi-tubified bodies and then
Oh.
really tiny feet. So if you've played, I think it's the Final Fantasy 3 remake,
Yeah.
had the 3D avatars, you know how they had little feet?
Yeah.
That's what it's like. I
That's very
wonder if it was the same
strange.
artist. I should just look it up. But yeah, it's cool. The character designs are very nice though. The
Mhm.
clothing that they wear and stuff is very nice.
So what? How's the story like? Do you like the story so far?
Um, it seems very average so far. The first, so the story is your tactician character or you wake up without any memory of where you've come from or who you are and stuff like that, and Crumb finds you, which is the main character, and he's a prince
Mm.
of Ylisse,
Hmm.
and his sister is like a figurehead, like the queen or whatever. But I
Hmm.
think they called it an exalt or something.
Hmm.
And he ends up saying, "Hey, I like you. I'll take you along, and you can be one of the shepherds, which is like their mercenary band."
Hmm.
You know, and the I think there's an opposing kingdom called Plegia
Hmm.
that Ylisse used to be at war with, and now they're trying to get revenge.
Mm.
So in other Fire Emblem games, usually the story is split in half. The first half is one story, and then it continues on in the second story. So the first 10 chapters or so is just you getting used to the game, and then
Yeah.
it really lays it on you for the last 10 chapters.
Yeah.
So this first half, the story is um,
Hmm.
Plagueia tries to go to war with Ylisse. And in the middle of that, a mysterious masked character shows up and calls himself Marth and is like, "You guys have to listen to my warning. Something really bad's going to happen if you don't stop Plagueia from going to war with you. So you have to stop the war." And you end up doing that. And then I'm at the second half, and apparently some land across the sea is trying to invade your continent. So
Hmm.
it's another war that's going on. And in the middle of all that, there's some cultists that are worshipping like a dark dragon that had once, I think, plagued the world, and it was stopped by the Fire Emblem, which is the item that the Kingdom of Ylisse has at the
Mm.
moment. So I'm guessing at the end, as per most Fire Emblem games, you end up fighting a big dark dragon. Like it's always a big dark dragon for some reason,
Yeah.
or a goddess. I think this one's a bit of both. So, yeah, I'm only just up to the point where I've changed most of my characters to their elite levels now.
Oh, okay.
So I'm a little bit over halfway.
Oh.
So the
So
story is
probably
very
next week you
average.
have finished it.
Yeah, yeah, maybe in the next few days. Actually, I'm busy the next few days. So maybe, yeah, by the end of the week, I'll have finished this game. And then I'm gonna do like super hard mode.
Mm.
Hmm. So that's it for
Nice.
Fire Emblem, really. It's a really, really good game. So if you've never ever played Fire Emblem series before and you have a 3DS, get this game. I promise you, it's not. If you're like into tactics games or you're looking for something different, give this a go. Get it because it's an amazing game.
So this one is a good one to actually introduce yourself to the series.
Yeah. Or reintroduce yourself to the series if you had a really bad time with Radiant Dawn, which I did. So it's brought back faith into this series. And the
Mm,
art is just so gorgeous. Oh my goodness. Like, if you look at the concept art for all the characters, oh,
mhm,
it's so beautiful. And they've redesigned older heroes from past Fire Emblem games as DLC characters, and their new outfits are just so amazing. Like Ephraim from Sacred Stones. Oh my goodness.
mhm.
It's really sad that you can't marry him because I would totally marry my tactician to him because he's amazing. So yeah, that's one of the games that I've been playing so far, that I've been playing recently. That's an RPG. How about you?
Um, I am playing. Well, actually, I'm playing like a few different ones, but at the moment the focus is on Tales of Graces F.
Ooh, what platform's that on?
It is on PS3.
Yes, okay,
So yeah,
cool.
it was originally a game on the Nintendo Wii, but of course, as Nintendo does it, they never really like to release games that sells well in Japan to the West.
Yeah.
So I think I don't know what happened, and it was because Tale of Graces originally it was an exclusive for the Nintendo Wii,
Hmm.
but then a year later, after they sold like hundreds of thousands of units of that game, finally Bandai Namco decided to port it over to the PS3 suddenly.
Mm.
Yeah, and then in the PS3 version, they actually add quite a big chunk of content to the post game. So that's why it's called Tales of Graces F.
They always do that with Jap games, don't they? Like if they decide to port it to something else or if they translate it to a different language, they get like bonus content.
Yeah,
And then it's just kind of like a cop out to the people who bought the original version. Like I
yeah,
think they did it to Final Fantasy X. There was Final
yeah.
Fantasy X and then international version that had like all this
Dark
extra boss
Aeons.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like that's just so I don't know why they do that. I guess more
yeah,
money, but anyway, keep
yeah. I
going.
think that, I mean it's good. Then I mean people who have played Tales of Graces, they actually have some more stuff to play
Mm.
with this one. So yeah, but the moment at the moment I'm just focusing on mostly focusing on Tales of Graces in a way that it's a pretty good game. It's a pretty solid game. So if you have played the Tales series, have you played any of the Tales game before?
Yes, I've never really finished one, but I've played a lot of them. Like they are they're like the go-to game when it comes to JRPGs, I think. They're very, very that genre. Like they're the
Yeah,
embodiment of that genre. So
yeah,
there's lots of grinding and all this
yeah,
other stuff in it that if you're not in the mood for, it's very difficult to get into.
yeah. Yeah, so it's a your typical JRPG with like anime kind of art style, some really annoying high-pitched characters, and pretty convoluted kind of story. I mean, the story is not that bad. I mean, at the beginning was not that bad, but then it's kind of. I think I passed the halfway mark now because I finished 4 chapters now. I think
Ooh.
so. So it's kind of running into a bit of cliche in terms of the story. I mean, there was a part that was still pretty good. I mean, I like this game originally because you meet the characters when they were kids first, and then
Aw.
something happened during their childhood. Then you fast forward like 8 years, and they
Mhm.
were grown up, and then you see all the damages that what they experienced as a childhood has on them as the adults. So
That's kind of
that is
cool.
the part of the story I quite like in a way that because you see all those cute little kids, they were no longer cute little kids, but they were damaged goods all over the place.
Oh God. That sounds like a Tails game. That sounds
Yeah,
like a Tails game.
so
Oh.
that's why I quite like it. Gameplay wise, it's very solid. It's a very solid like action RPG game. I mean, for people who didn't really like grinding and not like not enjoy pressing the X button and or the circle button all the time. You have a choice of actually marking everyone as auto. So to a point, for example, you think that your characters are strong enough to survive in the battles, you can just set them all on auto. So when you run through the enemies, your party will just do all the battles for you. All you need to do is to just sit there and collect the loot.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of a really good inclusion in this game because then people can just have a cup of tea, get them into battle, have a biscuits, and then you can like loot.
Yeah. That sounds like yeah, because it did get with a few other Tales games. I can't remember too much of it, but I do remember the whole, oh God, I'm in a fight again. I've got
Yeah.
to mash this button, and I don't even know I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just
Mhm.
kind of mashing the button. It's kind of good that they've kind of taken that out.
Yeah, and also the good thing with this game is that when you were over, like you're quite high level as compared to the region that you're in, the
Mhm.
enemies you can see the enemies on the map or
Mm.
in the dungeon. So you have a choice of running away from them or fighting them. But at the same time, I think that's something probably I don't know whether they borrow from Persona 3 is that when your level is high, much higher than the monsters or the enemies in the same area, then the enemies when they saw you they will run away. So you are not forced to fight them
Cool.
because I think nothing is worse than you have to spend time fighting low level enemies to get through it just to get. For example, just need to backtrack to get an equipment or an item from a treasure box you have missed out earlier to open up the
Yeah.
next door.
Yeah.
So I think that is something I think is that's pretty good in a way that because then when you run through the area, all the enemies who were lower level than you, they would just go away. They will not even bother you.
Yeah. See, that makes a lot of sense though, because I mean, it's not like if there were smart monsters, I suppose you
Mhm.
wouldn't try and attack someone that was fully geared with a giant sword or something like that that was
Exactly.
glowing. So that's pretty cool. That's a cool addition as well.
Yeah.
Like,
So I think that's a pretty good improvement on the game. And I think what I like most about this game so far is how you develop your characters.
ooh,
Yeah, so in well, you still have your standard JRPG. You level up, you get experience point, you level up, and all those kind of things. But the thing is, how you learn your skills in this game, or how you actually further develop your characters, is by obtaining titles. So you can obtain titles by using certain skills a lot of times, or you can obtain titles by doing certain side quests, or throughout the main game itself, or throughout certain kinds of actions that you carry out in the game. You obtain different kind of titles, and each title comes with a set of 5 skills. So
hmm,
if you what when during the battles you've got what you call the skill points, and then when you equip with a title, then you learn those skills from those titles. So you're not really restricted to how you. So it's not like I want this to be I don't. So for example, if you don't want this to be a melee character, you can actually focus on learning skills that actually from titles that actually improve your magic skills, what they call the create skills in this game.
hmm.
So they give you quite a bit of flexibility that you want to give your characters as compared to a lot of other games, I think.
That's interesting. So is it difficult to obtain these titles? Is it kind of like, I don't know, it kind of sounds like they've just made achievements a core part of the game. So,
Yeah,
in other games where you use
yeah,
skills over and over again, you get like an achievement for
yeah,
it. It
that's
sounds
right.
like,
Yeah.
is it exactly the same thing?
So it's kind of similar, but at the same time, is you have other things that it's not just you use a certain skills. For example, you if you do a lot of mixing, like because I have an alchemy pot, so if you
Mhm.
do a lot of alchemy and stuff like that, you actually obtain other kind of titles depending on what kind of things you actually made out of the alchemy pot.
Mm.
So it's I mean it's a like if you are like a pure collectors kind of gamer, you will love this game in a way that because there are a lot of things for you to collect.
Oh my God, that
So
would drive me crazy.
there will be like a lot of titles for you to collect, and there will be a lot of items from the alchemy pot, what they call the mixer, that
Hmm.
you can dualize and make them. And there
Hmm.
are lots of what they call this discovery in the game that you find some discovery. Sometimes it adds a new title, or sometimes it adds a new cutscene, or sometimes it add a new weapon or an item to your collection. And you also have what else do they have? Oh yeah, you have like you have certain kinds of, for example, you want to have all the different kinds of weapons. Sometimes you actually have to dualize them to obtain them, and you need to find the particular materials to do that, or the particular shards to do this.
Oh
So
God.
it's a lot of things for you to do in this game.
Hmm. I
Yeah.
may have to obtain a copy of this game.
Yeah, I think you can actually get it at a pretty good price now. With the collector's edition, actually comes with a soundtrack, which is a pretty good soundtrack, I think.
Oh, awesome. Do you know who the composer is?
Don't really know, but I can check that out and then let you know later.
Okay, sounds good. Because sometimes,
Yeah.
like, I would never know it, but I think the person who does, uh, I think it was the composer for some of the Persona games, did something for Kingdom Hearts, or it could be something someone else.
Shoji Meguro or something.
Yeah, yeah, I think they also did some Tekken ones as well. So it's really surprising what you find when you look at like
Yeah, that's
the
true.
composers
Yeah.
for music games. But that's just me. Like that might just be something that I find interesting.
Hmm.
Now that I say it out loud, it kind of sounds a bit weird and boring, but I just like knowing like who composes the music because some of them just are able to create really different ranges and different types of like sound.
Yeah.
So, yes, I know. I like that. I like knowing who the composers are of games.
Yeah, so I think yeah, Tales of Graces I think is for me, if you like JRPG and you don't mind the level grinding and all those kind of stuff, you can. It was actually a pretty good game for you to spend lots of hours. I mean, it has a pretty high replay value because, as far as I remember, Tales of Graces their level cap at level 999.
Wow.
Yeah, so that means you have so you can go through the if you are new to the franchise, you don't know what's in store for you. You can go through it at an extremely easy mode to get through the story, understand what's happening, and then you build up your skills and your characters. And through the game plus, you can actually. I think the hardest mode is still the chaos mode. So I think probably it will be extremely hard. I'm playing on the normal mode at the moment,
Mm.
and there are some boss fights quite that are quite challenging, and there are trophies that actually encourage to play through it again because you won't be able to do it in the first go. For example, you have to defeat the final boss in each chapter within 60 seconds.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
That sounds really like that sounds like a really JRPG challenge. Like,
Yeah,
do this in a really stupid amount of time. Good luck.
exactly.
Ah,
Yeah, I mean, it's with all JRPG trophies, they're never easy to get.
no, they're never easy. And
Yeah,
like, usually you can't do it without looking up some tricks that other people have done. It kind of like encourages you to find a way that doesn't seem like it should be really in the game, if
yeah,
that makes sense. So
yeah.
it gets borderline tricky when you try and get those things. I used to do that all the time, like try and do those challenges with JRPGs, but
Hmm.
I can't do it anymore. I get so frustrated. I don't know my patience for games has just dropped.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind doing that. I mean, there are requests and stuff that I don't mind doing that. So I mean, there are a lot of side quests in this game in the form of request, but there are also side quests in relation to characters themselves. So they're like different. So the side, for example, the side quests related to your characters actually they are very missable. So if you actually pass a certain point, if you actually didn't go through the story thoroughly, you will miss them.
Oh, that sucks. I hate those.
Yeah, so then if you want to find out what's happening, you have to replay that particular chapter like later in another playthrough and then find out, oh, okay, that's what's happening. So it will
Uh,
show up as like a star in a house or in the dungeon or in the streets.
mm.
But if you miss it, if you didn't go through, so it's kind of like became essential that once you open up a new area, you have to go back to all the other old areas to find out what, because there's certain things that only were triggered by events in the later area.
Mm.
That they someone you could be talking to a random person, someone told you about something, and then if you don't relate that to something that that's happened in the past in the story, then
Mm.
you will miss that particular side quest. And of course, as with all JRPG, you have if you finish all the side quests, you actually get an extra trophy.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
So at this point, I haven't encountered really annoying. I mean, there are side quests I don't know where I could get get the item or where I can actually complete that particular request to claim the bounty. But yeah, but I think probably side quests like this would eventually have things that are really hard to find or have really hard to get. Because I remember in White Knight Chronicles, I couldn't finish all the side quests because there was one that you have to fight a rare enemy to drop a rare item, and
Oh
but
God.
you can only get it from a certain side, like additional side quest that you have to play online. And I so
What?
many times, and I still couldn't get that particular item. I just gave up.
Oh my God. Why would they add something like that?
I think
Like,
it's maybe it's for the purists who actually like to do that kind of running around fighting the same enemy again and again. I mean, just like
oh,
FF12, they have like a side quest that I need to get something, and that I'm fighting the Dementors like hundreds times and still didn't drop that particular item for me.
I hate drop rates. Drop rates in games sometimes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So annoying.
So I haven't encountered that kind of thing yet, but I quite enjoy the mixer, like the alchemy pot itself, because it is a good way to actually get additional stuff and sometimes rare items. I mean, you have to level up your mixer, but the good thing about how you level up the mixer is the one as long as you continue to produce items or through your mixer, it would goes up. It would like continue to develop. So
Oh,
you
that's cool.
yeah, so you don't need to do specific things to actually level up. So after a certain level, they will tell you that your mixer has an additional port slot for you to do certain things, and you can actually equip like special spell book onto your mixer. So, for example, currently I have something called like instead of make producing one item, produce two items instead, and for enemy loots that you already have maxed out your infantry capacity, they turn into what they call the Eleth,
Mhm.
which is the energy unit they use in the game for the alchemy pot. So you convert those like extra items that you cannot carry into Eleth, so you save money to recharge your because when you produce something, you use up your Eleth in your mixer. So that for rare items, you consume a lot more Eleth than like normal items.
Mm.
Yeah,
That
so
sounds
I
pretty
think
good.
I think the system is kind of really tightly wove together, which I
Mm.
think is kind of getting me very interested. I mean, of course, as usual, I'm trying to collect as much stuff as possible. So at the moment, I'm trying to what I find out later in the game was that you have got some if you kill certain enemies, like certain a number of a certain enemies, that enemy type will drop something called a soul orb. So what I'm trying to do is at the moment is when I go into a new area, I make sure I collected all the soul orbs first because I think I missed out two, which I don't know where to find those two enemies now because those two enemies exist in the childhood part of the game, but when I went back to the area, those enemies don't show up anymore.
Oh, that's frustrating.
Yeah, so I miss out too, but then I'm trying to make sure. That's why now I'm trying to make sure that when I go into a new area, I've collected all the soul orbs first before I move on. In a way that in case I couldn't go back, or if I go back, the enemies do not show up anymore.
Mm.
Yeah. So
If I
this is
play
Tale
this
of
game,
Graces.
sorry?
So this is Tale of Graces.
Yeah. Ah, man. I don't know. Like, I wanna have a go of it now because I don't know that mixer thing sounds like something I'd really get into because I like kind of mixing stuff up and developing new
Yeah,
things, which is kind of most of why I like Persona.
yeah.
But the how you're telling me how you can miss out on stuff if you like, I don't think I'd be able to do it. Like, if I miss out on something, I'm gonna get frustrated and like throw my controller to the ground and be like, I can't do this anymore. Yeah, like I'm a perfectionist when it comes to that. So that's why it takes me so long to get through Persona games sometimes because
Yeah,
you know in how in Persona games you can do requests like side quests and
yeah,
stuff. Sometimes I miss out on them and I'm like, no, I can't do this, or I miss out on a date, or I can't like
yeah,
max a social link and I'm like, no, I can't play this game anymore. I
yeah.
quit this game for now, and then I'll pick it up like a few months later or something. So
Yeah, I think that's definitely for this game. I mean, I didn't start with any walkthrough or anything. I was just playing through it because my friend, like Sandra, she was recommending this to me again and again. So I got a copy when I was in the States because I don't know, sometimes these games don't come out in Australia. So I
yeah.
got a copy in the States. And after like I think after a few months after I got my copy from the States, they released it in Australia. But
Oh,
that's
okay.
fine. But yeah, so I put it on because I like Tales of Symphonia.
Mm.
And I thought, okay, I'll give it a try because Sandra was highly recommending it, and I do really enjoy it. But I think if for perfectionists, I think they really, if you want to start the game, I would suggest you to actually to get an on like to make sure you check the online walkthrough so you don't miss out things that you don't want to miss out.
That sounds like something I would have to do.
Yeah. But this is a quite fun game. I mean, apart from some cheesy dialogue and some kind of now kind of cliche kind of storyline, but I think it's still a pretty good game. It's very enjoyable. And then the thing is, you can craft new weapons and you can update your weapons. Like you can actually improve your characters through keep on refining your weapons.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so if you have like you find new shards,
Hmm.
they call shards, as long as you can actually dualize with your weapons, and then you can increase the base. Once you tamper the equipment, what tampering is basically after you use the equipment for quite a period, like quite a big number of battles, it got tampered, and you can extract the benefit of that particular element from the weapon and
Hmm.
create new gems and stuff. Then that weapon, the base, because you have already enhanced it, even when you extract the element out of the weapon base stats increase. So even if you have a very budget kind of equipment, if you because the enemy drop shards, so if you just keep on refining it with a shard, you can actually save money buying new weapons. But of course, you sometimes want to buy new weapons in a way that just to take a look at how cool they are on the battlefield, because all
Yeah.
the weapons that you made and create, and it actually shows up in the battlefield or in the cutscenes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
So that means the cutscenes aren't pre-rendered then. They're just rendered with the characters that you have.
exactly. Yeah,
That's really cool.
yeah.
It's always like I get really annoyed where if you play a game and you've purposely made your character look amazing, it
Mhm.
doesn't keep those amazing like it just
Yeah,
reverts like during the cutscenes it reverts back to what your character just like its
yeah,
base looks.
yeah,
It doesn't feel as amazing like if say I don't know by the end you finish a quest and you go meet a queen or something like that. Of
yeah,
course you're going to be better geared and you're going to look amazing. I don't want to
yeah,
look flat and crappy. I
yeah.
worked really hard for this, you know? So
Yeah.
that's really good. That actually makes me happy to hear that they it's not pre-rendered cutscenes.
And I think that's something you like too, is that I think if you're buying the Australian one, then you can actually have a lot of downloadable kind of costume that actually will show up in the game if you
Oh,
buy.
really?
Yeah, you can equip those costumes on. So, for example, one of the things that I pick up like along the game that's for free is I pick up a melon in the desert, and you can equip that melon onto the one characters, and then the character will be wearing a melon on its head.
Yay, melon head. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, you can do that kind of stuff, and I think there are quite a number of DLC available now on the PSN. So if you are into like changing costume and making them look cool, then you would find it very rewarding because all the efforts that you went through to collect costumes or and make weapons, they will all pay off on when you're playing the game.
Cool.
Yeah, so this is my current main focus.
Cool.
And the other one that I started not long ago is something related to what you have mentioned earlier. There was Persona 2 that I was playing on my PSP.
Oh, cool. Was that is that Innocent Sin or is that
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
yeah, 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 Innocent
Yeah,
Sin.
have you
Yeah, yeah.
played it?
Yeah, yeah, I have. It's awesome. It gets weird at some points though. I don't know if you found it this way, but if you go to a new area, sometimes the monsters jump in difficulty. Like there's a huge jump in difficulty.
Yeah,
And as soon as you go, like maybe you're like breezing through the current area, and then you continue, you progress through the story, and then suddenly everything's killing you on one shot.
yeah,
That was one thing that I didn't like about Innocent Sin. Like there was just ridiculous difficulty jumps.
yeah. I think
It's
that's
not
a
that.
common thread between Persona and Persona 2 because in the first Persona game, it was like that too.
Yeah,
Once you progress with the story, I mean, I am in the first Persona game. I was in the last area of the story, so I finish off the boss of this like, and then I'm going to the next dungeon because they said there's the final boss said that I'm waiting for you in that dungeon. If you want to save mankind or whatever, come to here. So I went there. The moment I step out of the previous dungeon, the random enemy shows up, and then in the first round, they kill off three of my characters.
yeah. And the thing is, like, it's not because you haven't like leveled your characters or your personas enough.
Yeah,
Like you'd breeze through the previous boss that you fought. It's
yeah,
easy, but then
yeah.
you go to the next like area, and suddenly everything's one-shotting you. It's stupid. It's not that you can even slightly make it through. It's just they completely wipe you in one go, and you're like, what the
Exactly.
hell's going on? Why is there such a big jump?
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah. Apart from that, it's a good game and it's a good
I quite
story.
like the
But
rumor system though, and Innocent Scene.
yeah, it's interesting, right?
Yeah.
I guess rumors is that persona's theme though.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Because they said that if you've spread the rumor enough time, it become a reality.
that's I just thought that was a really cool idea.
Yeah.
Like if you lie enough, sometimes it becomes the truth.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really cool, and they get some really wacky ones. Like I think it's the is it the lady at the ramen shop? She
Yeah.
she actually sells weapons, and
Yeah.
then you're like, oh, that's awesome. And then like the first few times you talk to her, she's just like a normal ramen lady,
Yeah.
and then you talk to her the next time, and she's like this mafia boss
Yeah.
selling these weapons with like dodgy guys standing around the ramen shop. It's
Yeah.
really cool. Like it's an amazing kind of I guess a story
Yeah.
kind of mechanic and also game mechanic tied into
Yeah.
one. I liked it. I like that. I like Persona.
And I like that they actually tie into other persona. They tie into other Magazine Tensei, Megami Tensei game because the detective who spread the rumors for you, the detective and his assistant, they call themselves Devil Summoner.
Yes.
Yeah, and when I first met them, I thought, oh, that's so cool. They're Devil Summoners.
I think I think the original Persona games were a lot closer to the Shin Megami Tensei games than the recent ones. So when you hit like three and four are very similar to each other, but one and two are
Yeah,
very similar to Shin Megami Tensei.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's interesting that they've developed it this way. It's kind of like you wouldn't really know from three and four that Shin Megami Tensei, like they're part of the same
yeah.
kind of, I guess, universe game mechanic
Yeah, I
group.
mean, apart from the Persona, which are tied into the Megami Tensei franchise,
Mm.
the game mechanics is very different from all the other ones.
Mm, mm, mm. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, I'm trying to get through Persona 2, and I'll see how far I can go with Persona 2.
Yeah, it took me a really long time to finish it because of that leveling difficulty weirdness.
Hmm.
I'm wondering if because it was remade a couple times for other platforms and stuff.
Hmm.
I'm wondering if they had ever kind of tweaked that at all. Like maybe it was too easy previously and they decided to make it harder, or they've just left it that way and they should have kind of tweaked it so it
I think
wasn't so
Persona
difficult.
in Japan was supposed to be one of the hardest RPG games for hardcore people. That's why
Yeah.
Persona 1 they said they what I read is that in Persona 2 they already reduced the difficulty level as compared to
Wow.
Persona 1. Because Persona 1 I just couldn't I'm still trying to get to the final dungeon in a way that because every two steps there is a random battle and like basically I'm spending a lot of resources trying to stay alive in every single random battle and then when I
Yeah.
go through a shop I actually have to stock up stuff.
Yeah, it gets like that, and the thing is, it kind of feels a bit futile because you use up all your items, and then by the end of it, it's not as if you get much experience from it either.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it's hard for the sake of being a butt and just being hard. Like
Yeah.
they're difficult games to get through. They are very, very Japanese JRPG,
Yeah.
Asian hard levels of stupidness, stupid levels of hardness. Yeah. Anyway, it's just something I don't think if you've started playing games for like Western games, it would be very difficult for you to understand why things are like that. Like
Yeah.
I know a lot of people don't get into JRPGs because there's just so much in JRPGs, like, but that's just the way they've been made. You know, it's loads and loads and loads of mechanics that you have to learn and you have to
Exactly.
master and you have to grind.
Yeah.
Um, that's just how they make their like RPGs, which isn't bad. It's just how they play them, you know?
I
And
think yeah, Japanese gamers. I think maybe they're a lot more hardcore in a way that they actually do enjoy that kind of level grinding and continuous development of the characters and all those kind of stuff.
yeah, yeah.
And I think they
It's
like the game more replayable as compared to maybe Western games. I mean, Western games are now trying to get themselves a bit more replayable as compared to the
mm,
past.
mm.
Yeah,
But I don't know. I can't really think of many Western RPGs that you can keep replaying and replaying. Like, certainly they have a lot of content, but it's not as if you have to replay the game a few times to be able to get 100%.
yeah,
It's just ones where, oh, it's like, it's not as if you have ones that have you missed stuff if you continue on to the next chapter. Like, there aren't that many. If
mhm,
you miss something, it's not too bad if you miss it. You don't feel that bad, but things that are really important, you can never miss. You can always go back and get.
yeah,
You know, so they're a bit more merciful
hmm,
in ways that, you know, in development and stuff like that. But
yeah. But I think
yeah,
that I think nowadays a lot of people are trying to look for some more punishing but rewarding kind of game experience. I mean, the example of Dark Souls and Demon Souls are very
yes, yes, that's what I was about to
very
say.
reflective of that.
Mm. So Dark Souls and Demon Souls, I think they had a good balance of difficulty and like reward as well.
Yeah,
So, I mean, when people died and stuff, they didn't really get too frustrated at the game. It was kind of
yeah,
like, I made a mistake. This is my fault. I'll just go back from where I was before.
yeah,
You know, you get frustrated, but it's not as if you'll stop playing the game. You'll just make yourself go through your frustration and
yeah.
get better or keep going. So,
Yeah, and then if you actually get through that, you feel very like accomplished.
yeah, you feel like it gives you that sense of reward and stuff. So, I guess that game is a really good example of how I guess the balance between fun and difficulty. It's not hard for the sake of being hard. It's hard to challenge you to make
Yeah,
you go through it, and then it will reward you at the end of it.
yeah, exactly.
Mm.
I think
So
that's what I think like RPGs should be.
yes,
Yeah. So
definitely.
so speaking of which, I actually played Disgaea 3 again. I mean, not again. I continue with my leveling up with Disgaea 3.
You can never finish a Disgaea game, I think. There's just so much to do, and there's so many levels, and I
Yeah.
don't know, could you ever truly finish a Disgaea game? I don't think so, huh?
I mean, in terms of story wise, maybe you can actually finish it. I mean, because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get all the additional characters
Oh
that
yeah.
locked away, like in the side story. But
Mm,
then the level jumped so quickly that
really?
you do have to grind your levels through the item wheel or class wheel to actually get to that level. You can defeat the enemies. I mean, the last optional boss I finished was Marona, and she was on level 800
Oh God.
with like a number of level 700 ghosts around her. And it nearly wiped out my party, and I finally have last character left to finally kill her in a way that because she has a small moving range, and I'm just using an archer and a healer doing it from afar. So I entice her to come down, but then I stay far away from her. And every time
That's
she managed to reach my archer and took out a huge chunk of HP, I just use like items and healing to heal him up before going back for more.
That seems like a very long tactic, like a very long time to finish a
Yeah, I think
battle.
it took me like 45 minutes to finish that battle.
Oh God. Well,
Yeah,
at least you finished it. At least you finished it.
yeah. And then the next, and then I unlocked the next map for the next optional boss, and it was Axel, and Axel was level 1200.
Oh God, that's a huge jump.
Yeah, and he was surrounded by 10 sorcerers and archers and knights that are level 1000 with the highest level of equipment, with rare
Oh,
equipment.
I could not get
So,
through that, I think.
yeah, I look at the map and I thought, I don't think I can do it. I need to grind more.
Axel was from, was it two, I think?
Yeah, this guy too, the Dark Hero.
Yeah, so you're gonna have fun with that because I think he has really good move range and he's fast and he hits hard. Like
Yeah,
he's the brawler, right? He uses his fists.
yeah,
Like I really liked playing Disgaea 2 like or Dark Hero Days or whatever it was because
yeah,
Axel was just a really likable character and he was a fun unit to use because he had a lot of different moves
yeah.
like varied moves and you could use him in a huge variety of tactics more so than I think other ones like other
Mm.
heroes that I've used. So I don't know,
Yeah, he
I
is a
really liked
quite
Axel.
flexible character.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm looking for. He's a really, I don't know, he was cool. I liked Axel. So that's gonna be fun fighting against him.
Yeah, so I think at the moment my Mao is level 800, and the other two Amats and the other and one of my warriors is level 700. But I think I need to level them up and equip them with better equipment too at the same time.
Time to
To
level up lots of stuff.
Yeah, so I'm just leveling up a lot of emblems and all those kind of things to equip my archers. So probably I need to use. I'm actually using a lot of archers in this game in a way that because close range melee is basically suicidal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
can't
that's
remember what. Yeah.
so that's the other game that I was playing. Oh, you have a 3DS. Have you thought of actually getting Monster Hunter Ultimate?
I'm not too sure. Like, people can kill me for this if they want, but I wasn't that interested in the Monster Hunter series. So I tried one of them. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was on the PSP, maybe,
One Monster Hunter G or something.
or
Or Freedom.
something. I don't know.
Monster Hunter Freedom, I think.
Oh, yeah, I think it was that one. I tried it, and I couldn't get into it. I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
It may be that I didn't invest enough time to learn the mechanics of it and
Mm-hmm.
to try and just like get into it, but I couldn't invest time into it because it just did not interest me. So it might be that I was just playing a really bad
Mm-hmm.
spin-off of Monster Hunter. But if I hear good things about this one, I'll definitely get it, but I'm not
Yeah,
interested in
Monster
that series.
Hunter is really a franchise that requires a lot of time and effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just invest that time and effort in Fire Emblem.
So will you be buying like the HD remake of FF10 and 10 too?
I think so. I think I will actually. Um, Mostly because it's a portable version of Final Fantasy X, and I really like that series. Personally, I know everyone's looking at them and going, "Oh, um, it looks so crappy, blah blah blah," but like I don't know what people are expecting. It's not a remake, I think it's a remaster.
Yeah.
So all I was expecting was just like better textures.
Yeah.
That's all I was expecting. I'm not expecting anything like Final Fantasy 13 graphics on my Vita. That's not what I'm expecting. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure all they're gonna do is just tweak the textures, maybe tweak a couple models so it looks a little bit better, but it's not gonna be something that looks completely different. I actually get a little tiny bit annoyed at people who are like, "Oh, it's the HD version. Why does this still look like exactly the same?" Of course it's going to look exactly the same. They're not going to remake this game from
Yeah.
scratch. They're just going to update a few things so it looks a bit better. Maybe fix a couple bugs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I think they're just increasing the polygon counts. They're not remaking the character models and anything like that.
yeah, maybe they'll update a few of like the effects to make it cooler, but I really love Final Fantasy X. Maybe they'll add some more of the I hope they keep the Dark Aeons and stuff in there. Maybe they'll add a few more side quests and stuff.
Hmm.
That would be some cool bonuses, but otherwise it was fine the way it was. If I get to play my international, well, our version, the PAL version of
Yeah,
Final Fantasy X, which was the international version,
yeah.
then I'm happy because I love that game. And I love the Sphere Grid, so I can't wait to play it. I will definitely get it.
Ah, okay.
Hmm.
That's good then. That means Square Enix made the right choice to remake it.
I think
Remake it.
it's
It's
the easier choice.
remaster it.
I think 10 was a solid game
Yeah,
that
it
they could
was.
have
Yeah.
remade.
And it's a rewarding game. I mean, it rewards your time and effort to play that game.
Oh, totally. It
Yeah.
totally does. Especially if you do your um I think that was one of the last games where I finished everything 100%. So I caught 10 of every monster that existed in the world. I
Hmm.
got that ultimate buster. I don't know, whatever that final monster was, like the
The penance.
or penance or whatever it was called. I can't remember what it was called. Um yeah, like
The
the
penance that
hardest
is
boss
one
that
that
you
you
can
have to
fight.
fight on the on your whatever aircraft that you were standing on. You have to fly into penance. I remember.
Uh the optional boss, that was a final optional boss? Like
Yeah.
the one that you okay, cool. That was probably that one then.
Yeah.
Like it's so long ago since I played that, but I seriously finished everything 100%. I had like 130 or 150 hours into that. Everyone's got their final weapons. I got everything legit, I even got Lulu's one where I dodged 200 lightning bolts.
That one
I
was quite
did all that.
something.
Trying to get like, you know what? I didn't mind dodging 200 lightning bolts that much. What
Mhm.
I hated was trying to get Titus's
I couldn't do
crest.
the last chocobo race. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, that stupid chocobo race. Seriously, I tried so many times. I'm pretty sure I nearly broke a screen by throwing a controller at it, but I finally got it. Like, I'm pretty sure quite a few hours went into just trying to get that stupid final one. Like, why would you even? Stupid time.
And Kimari's one is the one that you chase a butterfly in the woods.
Oh, God.
That one was so annoying too.
That was so annoying because you have to run in a particular way. Like, I looked up strategies on how you're
Yeah,
supposed to run because every single step you take counts. If you
yeah.
mess up one, may as well start again. Oh, that were fun to get though, I think, some of them.
So you
So
still have good memories of Final Fantasy X. That's
I
good.
still have decent memories of Final Fantasy X. I still remember crying at the very end. I still
Aww.
remember like wanting to punch Seymour in the face at the wedding. And like, oh my gosh, like it's so many feels. I love Final Fantasy X a lot. So
Oh, that's good. So I think it's coming out like during mid-year, probably. Is it mid-year
is
or
it
fall?
is it in the US though?
I think you nowadays you I think for this one US and the European one I think just a week apart. I think.
Oh, that's pretty good then,
Yeah.
because yeah, Fire Emblem one is pretty much 6 months apart, which is the general one. So like, if anyone tells me, oh, it's probably gonna come out like in the middle of the year, I'm expecting next year. So
Yeah, I mean the thing is because they don't need to they don't need to redoubt everything. They're just updating the graphics.
yeah, maybe tweaking the sound or something. They
Yeah.
may get new people to voice it if like I know I'm not sure how like the voice
Oh,
acting
that's true.
licenses
Yeah.
go because if the person doesn't allow you to use it in the new game, then you have to find a new voice actor. But I'm not sure how they maybe they just own everything.
No, maybe sometimes they just need to pay them extra to continue to use it for another whatever one for another game. I mean, that depends on how the contract was drafted. If they said that that's the voice work is for this game only, and then if they want to use it like in a re-release or remake, then they have to pay, for example, a proportion of the original payment for them. Because you're not doing if they do that actually it would be cheaper because they're not doing completely new work. They're just
Yeah.
licensing the voice.
There's a lot less risk as well because like if people like the original voices, if they change it
Yeah,
all of a sudden, people are not going to appreciate that. But I guess
exactly.
we'll just see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So cool. I'm
Mm.
excited for that. I haven't actually followed that development, like
Hmm.
the Final Fantasy remakes and stuff.
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. Whenever someone says Final Fantasy remake, I get really scared because I don't want to get into an argument of why Final Fantasy VII is not going to be made anytime soon. Like I don't understand. I don't think people understand the phenomenal efforts that people are going to have to go through to remake this game.
Yeah.
And the fact is they've added so much crap onto the Final Fantasy universe. Like if you've listened to other podcasts before, I've been on this rant before. If they have to make this Final Fantasy VII remake, it is going to be an absolutely humongous game because they have to add the other side story bullcrap that they've added before. If they
Yeah.
don't, the people who really liked that side story stuff, like all the people who really love the development of Zack in that, they're gonna get really mad.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be like, why didn't you add them into this remake? Blah 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 blah. So
Yeah.
that's why I think they're never gonna make it. Or if they do make it, they're gonna have to make it absolutely humongous and it's going to be a stupid amount of money,
I
like
think it's a
to make.
risky business to remake Final Fantasy VII, actually.
It is ridiculously risky. I don't actually know if it's worth it anymore. I'm getting messages from my boyfriend, by the way. He's saying like, and he's telling the truth. Like, people have gotten so excited over the idea, just the idea of a Final Fantasy remake, like
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII remake. If they do make it, no one's going to be happy with it because everyone's hyped it so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. And
So
everyone has different expectations about that.
exactly. Everyone's got different expectations. Like if they give you Final Fantasy VII remake, you should just be happy that there was one in the first place. Okay? Don't gripe over it. Just be
Yeah.
happy there was one.
That's true.
Otherwise, it's never gonna come out. Go play the original and be happy with that. Okay?
Yeah. Play the Lego Hands ones.
Yeah. The vertex painted ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do hope that they will remake Final Fantasy VI though, because I think there would be a lot less at stake if they remake Final Fantasy VI. It's a
Yeah,
great game, but then I think it is good that if they actually remake it into like a polygon model instead of that pixely kind of flat model.
I yeah, I don't know. I don't mind the art of six, but I think six had a really nice story and depth and
Yeah,
art style to it that would translate really well into a fantasy 3D setting.
yeah.
Actually, this is just me talking, but I wouldn't mind a Final Fantasy 8 remake, the remade as well. But that's
Hmm.
because it was my favorite. But I guess the kind of futuristic sci-fi slash magic kind of um setting would be
Hmm.
really cool translated into 3D. If you've seen like what 13 looked like, if they had,
Yeah.
if it had that kind of like the 8 story with
Mhm.
13's looks, it would be awesome.
Well,
Um,
13 has Gunblade too, so
yeah, exactly. Like, and yeah, exactly. The main characters are pretty much the same anyway. They all
yeah,
like they're gloomy and they don't like talking to people.
exactly.
I mean, if only Lightning said whatever more, she'd be Squall, but female form.
Yeah.
Like, it's they're almost there. They're close enough.
Well, and this year we are going to have more of Lightning again, so we'll see how.
Yeah. Was it Lightning Returns or
Yeah, yeah,
is that
that's
it?
right. I think it's kind of like a sphere grid, dress grid system, a dress sphere system too.
Oh, okay. They're not calling it Final Fantasy, are they?
I think it's called Final Fantasy 13 3 Lightning Return or something like that,
Oh my
or
God.
just Final Fantasy 13 Lightning Returns. Because you
Yeah.
know the end of the second game, right?
No, I remember I didn't even finish 13 because I
Oh,
found it
that's right. Yeah,
risky.
yeah. So yeah, so basically in the second game they have an ending that if Lightning needs to come back, they have to find a way for Lightning to come back.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
yeah. That's why they
That
have. And I don't think that the story actually ended in 13.2.
oh yeah, I think we had this argument before. I said that that was kind of like stupid. There was no kind of closure or anything. They just left
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah. There was no
Okay.
closure. Yeah.
I don't know, thinking of Final Fantasy 13 franchise just makes me mad. Just 'cause, like it just the first game frustrated me and then it was like, oh, 13 2, 13 wasn't even that good and then they were like, oh, we're bringing out 13 3. Oh, stop. Stop it.
Yeah, I think
Stop it.
13.2 only sold a fragment of sales as compared to 13.
Then why are they making another one? Why don't they spend that money on making like bringing out Versus 13? Versus
Probably they
13,
have to finish the story because they probably, I think originally they thought that 13.2 is so he will sell heaps, so they can actually just not end the story. But then their plan didn't work out. But then they didn't finish the story either, so they have to make a 13.3, either like the Lightning Return game, so that they actually close the story of Final Fantasy 13.
yeah, actually, that makes a lot of sense. If they had already started productions on all three games at like at the beginning
Exactly.
and they had planned for three games originally, that means they really have to see it through to the end. So,
Yeah.
oh man, that must hurt.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
wonder how.
if they actually haven't got themselves into 13, the mass of 13.2, they would not be in so much of trouble. I mean, they said that 13.2 is like a redemption for what people don't like about 13, but then I think they thought we're redeeming ourselves so that we can just not finish the story and hook people into playing another game. But then the thing is, people still didn't like it.
Yeah. Oh God, I feel bad for those designers. I wonder how much money they've lost on Final Fantasy 13, like the franchise. I bet you they thought it would make a lot more money than it has, and they've just sunk so much
I
money
mean, the
into the
CEO
series.
had to step down because of all those failures.
Yeah, I didn't he step down after the security hack or whatever it was of PSN or
No,
something?
there was I think it's a different one, but this the Square Enix CEO stepped down after the report of like they have a pretty bad year because I think 13.2 didn't meet expectations. Tomb Raider didn't meet expectations. The other one I can't remember what is the other. Sleeping Dogs didn't meet expectations. I mean, they sell really well, but the thing is they invested so much money that they have to sell even more. I think they said that,
Yeah.
for example, Tomb Raider, they have to sell at least 5 million units to actually make break even. So
Wow.
for a game that they sold 3.5 million is a lot of people's dream, but then that is quite a bad planning if you actually have a game that you have to sell 5 million to actually just break even. And I think for Naughty Dog, if they are Sleeping Dogs, if they actually want to break even, they have to sell 3 million, and they sold like 1.9 million, which is a really successful rate for a new franchise. But then
Yeah.
the money they invested in, I think, is just couldn't cover the cost.
Damn. I really like Sleeping Dogs, and from what I've heard from everyone who's played Tomb Raider, they've really loved it. So that's really upsetting to hear. I guess it was just bad money, budget management. But then
Yeah, I
again,
think it's
think
just
about
really
it.
bad project planning for that.
Well, think about it though. I wonder if it was necessary, like if they had cut some money out of their budget, would it have been such a great kind of game, or would it have been a success, like as much of a success? Was it a whole thing of bad project management where they've just sunk money into things that they didn't need to, or was it that the money was necessary and just if they
And I think
cut
there
away
was a
that the money
marketing
was
blowout too for those games.
really?
Yeah, because I think they invested a lot of money in marketing too, apart from development time and all those kind of issues. And yeah, so I just find it absurd that like for Tomb Raider 3.5 million is such a great number for a game to, and then they said they can't break even because they were expecting them to sell at least 5 millions to break even. And I thought, that's kind of crazy, man.
That's a really big number though. 5 million
Yeah,
units.
I mean, there are not many games who can sell 5 millions, like within like a year.
That's a lot of copies of games.
Yeah.
Huh. I wonder who comes up with those numbers.
So
Are they basing it off previous like units that they've sold of other games, or are they just expecting people to buy this? Like, where does the logic come from?
I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, it sometimes when I see this, read this kind of reports and look at the numbers, it just baffles me how people come up with that kind of number.
I bet you someone messed up and they're like, oh, it wasn't 5 million. Oh crap, I did my maths wrong. Like, oh God, the CEO's I can't say anything anymore. The CEO
Or
stepped down.
maybe, I
I
mean,
just kept my
maybe in the
mouth shut.
past Tomb Raider sold that many, so they thought is a new Tomb Raider, it would just sell as much. But the
But
thing is that the previous Tomb Raider, they don't have as much competition in the industry as now. I mean, when Tomb Raider first came out, it was just the first renaissance or rebooting of the whole gaming industry.
yeah, it's true. And the
Then
thing is, like,
yeah,
expectations weren't as high either. If you think
exactly.
about what, like, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this in previous podcasts, but we gamers are spoiled to death.
Yeah,
People work themselves to unhealthy, like, until they're sent to hospital pretty much to
yeah.
be able to bring you these amazing games. Like, as someone who constantly keeps up with like the game development kind of industry,
Hmm.
like just development, what goes on behind it, please, 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 gamers, love and respect the games that you play and think about the things that you gripe about if they're really worth griping about or if you're just being spoiled. Because people are expecting better graphics every single time, but really, is graphics that important?
Hmm.
Are you playing your games because it's gorgeous, or are you playing it because also the sound production was fantastic? The game production, like the gameplay is amazing. Because what is it? What was the example I used? Like Crisis. Crisis is like the pioneer, I guess, of
Hmm.
realistic looking games and stuff.
Hmm.
But it was crap.
Yeah.
What gameplay did it have? What story did it have? It had nothing to engage you. Sure, it's pretty to look at,
Hmm.
but that was it. You know, it was just a tech demo. So, just
Yeah.
so
I do,
spoiled.
I do agree that like sometimes people place too much emphasis on graphics and they actually forgot about the gameplay. I mean, Resident Evil 6 is a very good example that with great graphics, it doesn't translate into a great game.
Yeah, it doesn't, does it?
Yeah.
Like, and the story is kind of like, as well.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, like Resident Evil 6 is the best looking ever Resident Evil game I've
Mm.
played. But then at the same time, it's one of my least favorite.
Yeah, it doesn't have, I don't know, but then again, I wonder if it's because we're super nostalgic about how the Resident Evil games used to be, because that's how I feel. I try not to gripe about six too much because I did have fun playing it, and
Hmm.
I did have fun playing it with a friend. Like the co-op was fantastic and the
Hmm.
graphics are really good, but I don't know, I guess I didn't like it because it just wasn't scary. And that's what I liked about the original Resident Evil. Like, when you were running through a mansion and things
Hmm.
would
Yeah.
jump out at you, and it was like a survival horror. It wasn't actiony.
Hmm.
So I think part of the reason why I didn't like six, or most of the reason why, is because I was just being nostalgic about stuff. And that would only, like, I mean, if you're new to the Resident Evil series, six probably would have been a really fantastic game.
Yeah,
It
I
has,
mean, yeah.
it follows the trends of what games are like now, which is really actiony and has like quick time events
Hmm.
sprinkled about it and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'd like to gripe about it, but I can see it from a newcomer's perspective where it would be a pretty good game.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just a balance between the two. That um, I think a balance between the actions and the quick time. I think I think in my previous post and my previous podcast I already talked about is I just don't really like the over utilization of quick time events
Yeah.
because that I mean if they actually were used correctly they are great. For example, in 4 and 5 they actually add to the tension, but
Mm.
I don't see a point of you have to do 3 quick time events to actually open a lock.
Yeah, to open a lock or open a door. I didn't
Exactly.
understand those quick time events either. The ones in like in five and stuff where it's like a reaction thing where you got to get a
Exactly.
zombie off you. They I don't mind those, and that
Yeah,
actually makes me
exactly.
panic. I'm like, crap, get off me, stupid, stupid zombie, go away. But like the ones where you have to be like, I have to mash this button to open a door.
Yeah.
What am I doing exactly?
Yeah.
So no, I understand that. That was one of the frustrating things that is just frustrating for the sake of
Yeah.
being frustrating. So,
Yeah. So, oh, speaking of which, we actually have gone through quite a bit of stuff tonight.
yeah, we have this podcast ended up being pretty long, but it has been a while since we've done one of these. So, maybe we're just getting back into the rhythm of talking about games. It's just exciting to talk about games all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So probably next time when we meet up again, then it will be that you can tell me about your final thoughts of Fire Emblem.
Yes, I'll be able to talk about. I'll either do it on here on the Game Olio podcast about what I think about it, and
Mhm.
if it gets more amazing as it gets to the end, or if it's just kind of hit its peak around the middle,
Yeah.
which I'm hoping it hasn't.
Hmm.
So I think there's some more mechanics that people have mentioned that I haven't actually encountered yet.
Yeah.
So I think they've added a lot more replayability to Fire Emblem Awakening. So we'll have to see. We'll see what happens when I finish and I start again.
Cool.
True.
And the Tales of Graces review is now on the Gameolio website. So if you want to have a read of or find out more about the Tales of Graces F games, you can go to gameolio.com and you will be able to find that particular review and see whether you like it. Yeah, I think for people who like to collect stuff, it's a perfectionist paradise, but depends.
Yeah, it could get a little bit overbearing
Yeah.
sometimes, even for a perfectionist. Any final thoughts for the JRPG? It's good to be back on this
Yeah,
RPG
it's good to be
podcast, I
back.
think.
It
It's
has
very
been
good.
some time, yeah.
Yes.
So, till next time then.
Yes, definitely. Until next time. Don't forget to leave comments on this
Yeah.
podcast if you listen up. Things that you like, things that you hate. Maybe what you think about the Final Fantasy VII remake. It would be good.
Yeah.
Or maybe of what you thought of the Final Fantasy X remake or any of the games that we talked about. Or anything that you think about
Yeah.
that we mentioned.
Any other JRPG you thought worth mentioning or want us to take a look and discuss about that, just let us know and we will have it on our show.
Or any RPGs actually as well. Western RPGs, JRPGs.
That's true.
Anything.
Anything. Yeah.
Let's know. Yes.
Okay, thank you very
Sure.
much tonight for meeting up. So we'll see you all next time then.
Yes. Thanks,
Thanks,
Haven. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.